on down the road that might be fun to hit. So they drove up to the station and they both jumped off of Jake's ride. They were up to derision at Jake's decision as they both saw to the inside. The attendant, he was an old man, and you know he didn't think it very funny. When Petula pulled out that great big gun, said, "Honey, give me all your money." Well, the old man opened up the cash drawer, and Jake grabbed the money and ran. With Petula out the door to the big chopped holler that was parked on the center kickstand. Then they headed out for the 4-lane, and they thought it was lots of fun.
Night Dreams Talk Radio Network brings you the World Paranormal News with James Creechbaum. Now, the latest news.
This is Night Dreams Talk Radio Network News. I'm James Creechbaum, and a truck driver watches a Sasquatch vanish into a tree line. As his truck entered a gradual highway curve, to the left, his eyes locked on a large, tall, brown mass moving in front of a tree line ahead. For several seconds, as his truck barreled closer, he got an increasingly clear view of this large mass that quite obviously was standing on two legs, walking towards the woods. By the time his truck arrived to where the Sasquatch had been standing, it had slipped into the trees and vanished from sight completely. As he whisked past the spot, he scanned the trees, but saw nothing but traffic. The witness estimates that the figure had to be around 10 feet tall in order for him to catch a glimpse from the original distance. The size, along with the consistent brown color that covered its body, were strong indicators in his mind that this was not a person. There were no vehicles parked along the highway and no sign of any road crew. Doomsday Clock is now seconds from midnight. According to the latest movement of the symbolic clock, the state of our world has gone from bad to worse. Maintained by the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientist since 1947, the Doomsday Clock is a visual representation of how close the world is to disaster based on political, environmental, and technological threats such as nuclear annihilation and climate change. Rather than worryingly, this year's update has seen the hands move even closer still to a mere 100 seconds to midnight, a sure sign that things haven't exactly improved much from over the last 67 years. Vatican prepares conference on extraterrestrial life. A conference with extraterrestrial theme will be held at the Vatican on February 12th. The universe and possible encounters with other civilizations. Everything suggests that there may be an opening for the revelation of the existence of extraterrestrial life in the universe and possibly be in our world. On February 12th, the conference will be held under the title, The Universe and Possible Encounters with Other Civilizations. The ISS live feed was interrupted by NASA at the moment a weird UFO-like anomaly appears in front of the camera. Now, the one astronaut had just turned on the ISS app to take a look when some kind of object appeared on the live feed. So Adams took some photos and a video of the strange anomaly just before NASA abruptly cuts the live broadcast. And it is not the first time NASA cuts the live feed from the International Space Station at the moment alien objects appear on camera. They watch over it very well, and it's very well known that screen and text that there is a sudden loss of signal between the station and the communications network. Astronauts create first ever food baked in space. In a first-of-its-kind experiment, the astronauts abound ISS have baked a batch of chocolate chip cookies. It turned out that baking takes much longer in space, over 2 hours compared to 25 minutes in terra firma. The special prototype oven was also needed to heat them up safely aboard the ISS. Officials once warned that the virus lab in Wuhan ground zero for the coronavirus could accidentally release it. Now, why medical experts and the media track its spread to and debate whether it's eating snakes or bat soup from a certain market in Wuhan is the origin point of the coronavirus causing the deadly pneumonia-like illness. Very few have noticed that the Wuhan National Biosafety Laboratory studying the virus is the same lab that experts warned in 2017 could accidentally release a similar deadly virus into the public arena like the SARS virus, escaped from a high-level containment facilities multiple times. Is it a coincidence that ground zero for the coronavirus is the same lab designated as the only place in the world that can find a cure, and Wuhan is now cut off from the rest of the world? Next news break tomorrow night.
Good evening, or morning, depending on your time zone. From the Pacific to the Atlantic to you worldwide. Get yourself a cup of Java and find a comfy, easy chair. And get ready for Gary and his guest on Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark. And now, here's Gary.
And here I am with our great guest tonight, Dr. Barry Taff. I tell you, the paranormal, it gives you a lot to think about. Does paranormal things really exist, or is it a figment of our imagination? Well, from what I'm hearing tonight, I do think there's a lot of things that are happening, but we just don't know how and why. Or do we, Dr. Barry?
Yes, for every question we begin to answer, 100 more pop up in its place. It's a never-ending quest for who we are, where we come from, where we're going. The most intense question of the human condition is, where do we come from, what are we doing here, and where are we going? And what if in the end we discover that the future may be just as immutable as the past is? We know we can't change the past. What if the future is no different? Give you an example. When we were working and the lab was up and running, the other areas of my interest was working with ESP training, psi training. Now, there's a lengthy article on my website called Learned Psi, Training to be Psychic. It's a lengthy article about the program we had. And what is happening where I was getting results so fast that were so consistent, Dr. Moss, unbeknownst to me, was inviting members of the intelligence community and the military to visit us. They were curious, and they were. And so they came in all dressed in civilian clothes, mostly men and 2 women, repeatedly, not just one occasion. So we told them the procedure. Okay, great. So we ended up describing in such detail what was going on with the development of the Ohio-class Trident submarines and their D2 missile or D3 missile. They freaked out. They demanded I surrender the audio tape we made. Okay. So we knew it worked most of the time, but not all the time. And every time we thought we knew what was going on, a curve would be thrown to us. There was a woman who Dr. Moss suggested, she was a student on campus around my age, who wanted to go. Okay, so she could come in. She wanted to be a target, or be the sender, so to speak. So we knew nothing about her, other than what she looked like. So she gives us the first name of somebody. Now, she knows information, we don't. We start describing a beautiful home in a beautiful foliage around big glass walls and a kitchen lined with empty jars of Bako bits. Bako bits? What? We started describing a name that turned out to be almost phonetically right, but it was somewhat distorted. I can't repeat it for laws of privacy. But it got really strange when we started talking about this individual being very badly beaten and mugged. So the woman I'll explain this in some detail of how it worked, but we did the thing. The woman takes the recorder and plays back the statements we made. The house we described was accurate. The name we tried to come up with was phonetically correct, but wasn't. It was spelled the right way, but we didn't pronounce it right. And as far as the description of the guy, yeah. And then about being mugged, he's never been mugged. What are you talking about? Okay. So the next day in the lab, the girl comes in and she goes, "You're not going to believe this. Remember what happened with the group yesterday? Yeah. Remember what you said about the friend of mine being mugged? Yeah. Well, last night when the group was being run, at that exact moment, he was being viciously beaten and mugged up in San Francisco." So the girl didn't know it. We didn't know it. The rest of the group didn't know it. So what's the source? We're accessing information. If it comes from a distance, we call it telepathy, clairvoyance. If it comes from a mind, well, it's definitely telepathic. If it comes from the future, it's precognition. If it comes from the past, it's retrocognition. Bottom line, some part of our consciousness can access information remotely in relation to itself. And depending on where it appears to come from, for where we are, determines what we call it. So we did this on a regular basis. It was easy to do. We got bored. But you read more about this in my article. There was so one time we thought, let's try our first precognitive session. Describe the first randomly chosen target on the next week. Okay, could have been anything. So we talked into a deep relaxation, with what they called reduced metabolic state, hypometabolic, where you're hypotensive, you're calm, you're breathing slower, taking deep breaths, you're getting relaxed. Okay, describe the target for the next week. Could be anything. So we start describing a tall, blue-eyed blonde woman, very beautiful, wearing a beautiful beige outfit. And she sat in one chair. All chairs had numbers under them. And we start seeing a 3-story home in the hills. We see a baby grand piano. And we see a tall man, 6'4", maybe a little taller, dressed in black. Black shirt, black pants, black boots, black gloves, black hat, black mask, an imposing big belt, and a black cape, and an imposing sword. We thought, we're losing our minds. So the next week, new people come in, brought in by third parties who were never in our group before. Each person is given an envelope, an opaque envelope with a piece of paper and a number in it. People sit down of their own choice where they want to sit, except for my control, where I control the information flow. And we roll the dice, open up your packets, and okay, whose number fits the roll? This woman, oh, I do. Okay. Now here, we're going to let you listen to a tape. If the tape fits you in any way, shape, or form, stop and discuss it, which is your positive feedback and reinforcement. If it doesn't fit you, let it go. So we're describing the girl, perfectly accurate, even her clothing. Okay. She, of her own accord, sat in the one chair we numbered a week earlier. We referenced numerically a week earlier. Could have been coincidence. And then the 3-story home in the Hollywood Hills. Yep, that's where she grew up. Baby grand piano. Yep, that's the house she grew up in. But all could have been coincidence, right? So then she hits the part with the tall man in all in black with the sword and the cape and mask. And she stopped the tape. She goes, "How do you know who I am?" And we went, "What? How do you know who I am?" We go, "Who are you? We don't know who you are." "I'm Tony Williams." We went, "And?" "My father is Guy Williams. He played Zorro for Disney."
Oh, wow.
Whoa. And she said, "When did you make the tape?" "A week ago." "A week ago? I didn't know I was coming here till a few hours ago, brought in by someone who'd never been here, and you chose me randomly." "Well, that means this whole thing must have existed before." "Yeah, but that means we don't have a lot of control." "Yeah." "What does that mean?" "I don't know. Big deal. You're still going to live your life." And it really upset her. You know, it kind of, even when I say it today, I get goosebumps because my academic brethren, I discussed this event when it happened in 1978, I believe. They said, "Oh, we guessed." Excuse me? The only thing we didn't say was Zorro. Probability, 10 times 4 to the 37th power. Yeah, sure. Okay. So then we tried it again, weeks later. Describe the next week.